Hello guys, welcome back. Today I'm going to talk to you about the KEF Reference R3 bookshelf speakers. These are the entry model of the reference series. They cost 2,200 USD for the pair. This particular one is finished in walnut and looks really gorgeous with the copperish, pinkish color of the UniQ driver, the bass driver, and the rings around them. The R3s are also available in gloss black, white, mineral white. They have matching S2 stands as well that are also sold as an option. The stands cost an additional 450 USD. They also come in different colors: carbon black, mineral white, titanium gray, royal blue, and crimson red. Wow, nice choices. I did not have the KEF stands, but I evaluated them on the 26-inch edifier stands in my listening rooms. Now, dimensionally, these R3s are big fellas. 17-inch tall, 13 inches deep, and about 8 inches wide. And they weigh a solid 30 pounds each. All rectangular sides, no curved baffles, as in the LS50 or their meta models or their flagship Blade series. The high frequency driver is mounted concentrically to the 5-inch mid-range driver in their patented UniQ arrangement. The flare you see here is what they call a shadow flare, which is the KEF proprietary way to minimize high frequency diffraction from interacting with the cabinet. The flare helps the transition from the mid to the high frequencies and extends the wave guide effect of the UniQ in a manner so that the treble frequencies escape without getting to the cabinet edges. The bass driver is 6.5 inches. It's made of a hybrid aluminum cone. That is, it is an aluminum skin on top of a paper cone for stiffness and linearity while producing bass frequencies below 400 Hz crossover point. Coming to the back of the speaker now, let's talk about the port design. The ports have flexible walls. The flare and the profile of each port is designed in a manner to delay the onset of turbulence, and the flexible port prevents resonances from coloring the all-important mid-range. Bi-wiring is an option here. You tighten the knobs clockwise for using single wiring, and then you undo it counterclockwise to enable bi-wiring. Internally, the bracing is set to have constrained layer damping. Essentially, this is a technique for suppression of vibration where damping materials of a lower stiffness or higher viscosity is sandwiched between two stiffer materials on the outside. The outcome is usually any vibrations made on the outside of those stiffer materials are dissipated in the viscoelastic layer, dissipating unwanted vibrations, therefore preventing feedback into the cones of the speaker inside, preserving as much as possible the pistonic movement relative to the original signal from the amplification. Speaker grills are also beautiful. Suede fabric, like magnetic grills, supposed to have minimal impact on sonics. I removed them during critical listening though. Spec-wise, they are rated at 87 dB sensitivity, nominal 8 ohm impedance, but minimum impedance dips to 3 ohms. So the speaker demands high current amplification for its best performance. Their -6 dB rating in the bass region is 38 Hz, but they easily go down to the mid-30s when powered well, even in a large room, and when they're about 4 to 5 feet away from wall boundaries. So how does it sound? To evaluate these speakers, I used a few different amps. The Audiolab 6000A, the Gelida 3502 tube integrated, the superb and mighty Rega Ethos, even the Schiit Asia Class A Continuity power amp using a high quality Rogue tube preamp, Also a wired for sound STI 1000, which is a 500 watt into 8 ohms and 1000 watt into 4 ohms Class D integrated amplifier. The things that stood out immediately with these speakers: scale, authority, and stunning imaging. Imaging just like the LS50 Metas did, but maybe a bit deeper, more precise, and definitely adding that authority and dynamics in the lower registers, lower frequencies. But to get this pair performing their best, you really need quality amplification. An amp like the Riga Brio or the Audiolab 6000 at a minimum to put that smile on your face. The Schiit Aegir did okay at low listening levels, but go with more muscle in the amplification and you're definitely rewarded. Also, these speakers perform best if you can get them 3 to 5 feet from wall boundaries. Again, they don't sound bad when they're closer to the front wall. They sound good when they're about 2 feet or so away at a minimum, but you are probably not going to be treated to the sound staging brilliance in terms of layering and depth details that are available in certain recordings. I had them 5 feet from wall boundaries, 1100 square feet listening space with 10-foot ceiling height. Okay, so before I go into album examples, I did have a request from a viewer that said, hey, why do you mostly pick real high fidelity recordings? Pick some that are ordinarily accessible as well, so most of us can relate. I am completely up for that. I do enjoy a wide variety of music, not just well-recorded jazz, especially when I have company with me, and sometimes even when I listen by myself. So, because of that, I'm going to talk through some examples of albums that are more commonly available. So this album showcases mid-range capabilities and superb detail retrieval. This is Beck's Sea Change album. I'm not sure if this album was titled this because of the change in his life due to his breakup with his longtime girlfriend, or if it was just because it sounded so different from his previous albums. The entire album is very melancholic and simply oozing with melodies that just move me and give me the goosebumps whenever I listen to it. Track 2, side 2, there's a song called Paper Tiger. This is a rock song that integrates an orchestra so well. The bass impact and delicate cymbal taps in the beginning are conveyed in a very impactful and articulate manner. The mass and body of the violins in the orchestra are so big and scaled so well. And his voice here, of course, sounds deeply sad. This is a very nuanced presentation of the combination of the violin and his emotive voice, at times gravely voice, and the emotion is so well reproduced by the R3s. On side C, there's a track called Round the Bend. The beginning of the song brings a massive sense of air and despair, and the violin and bass are so moving here and so well formed. Also, a few seconds into the track, there are so many instruments entering here, and the R3s paint the sonic picture so damn well. The bass guitar picks are crisp, snappy, and resonant, and yet deeply impactful. The synthesizers and keyboard soundscapes are large and moving. You can sonically visualize them moving with so much body in the soundstage. Beck's voice is locked in space and sounds brilliant, very, very emotive. If you haven't heard this album of Beck's before, I should warn you, this album is a downer of sorts, but then it's the perfect example of what Percy Bysshe Shelley wrote in his poem To a Skylark. Sweetest songs are those that tell of the saddest thoughts. Anyway, next album is by this group called War. And the album's name is Why Can't We Be Friends? This is a funk R&B album from 1975. My favorite track, besides the popular Why Can't We Be Friends, is Leroy's Latin Lament. The track starts with weighty, meaty piano and clear vocals placed nicely behind the soundstage, and the track slowly transitions into this fast Latin rhythm and then comes back into a bluesy, moody lament mode, starting with some gorgeous sounding harmonica. The tone of the harmonica is fantastic here. It has the subtle inflections and the textures that are reproduced so well by the R3s. The mid range was fantastic. But the one drawback here, I was noticing that the bass in this track wasn't as full as I've heard it in my reference speaker system. So I moved them from being about 5 feet to about 3 feet from the front wall, and I found the bass heft that I was looking for at the expense of a little bit of soundstage depth. So you have to play around here with speaker positioning a lot. But I have to note here that my listening environment here, I don't have acoustic treatments other than bass traps in corners, and perhaps the right combination of sonic treatments of diffusers and absorption material in the wall behind the speakers and between the speakers and behind the speakers. I might actually get the depth layering with reduced distances from the front wall. Nonetheless, the mid-range quality did not suffer and with moving it closer to the wall boundaries, and the voices still sounded fantastic. Next up is an album from one of my favorite classic rock bands, Black Sabbath. Some people will label me as a heretic here for my choice of this album, Dehumanizer. Yes, it's a Dio Sabbath album. As much as I love the original Sabbath albums, I do love the Dio years as well. So, starting with the first track, it's called Computer Gods. Oh, the heft and wallop of the percussion in the beginning is solid, and it's amply loaded with slam. And guess what? The soundstage too is pretty impressive in this heavy metal recording. So that tells you they paid attention to the recording and mastering of this album. The doom-laden riffs on the second track's called After All. And it's visceral, and even more punchy and visceral is the drum and bass. And when Dio sings, "What do they do to your soul? Is it just lying there busted? When did you lose all control? Is there someone to be trusted with my mind?" And the prelude to the heavy drumming, which is about to arrive, and I cannot help but bring out my air drumsticks and just revel in the clear, punchy, explosive dynamics of this track. And this album goes on track after track: TV Crimes, Letters from Earth, Master of Insanity. I heard it back to back, devouring all that metal deliciousness, one track after another, and I forgot to take notes about how the speaker sounds. So, in conclusion, you can tell I love these speakers. There are the usual caveats, though. You simply cannot skimp on quality of amplification here. You have to have the space to position them well. Their strengths lie in superb detailed production and imaging. If you want to realize their full potential in the bass department, you really need amplification capable of high current and full bandwidth delivery, and stability well below 4 ohms, since they go down to 3 ohms. The Riga ethos simply brings out the best in the Kef R3s. I'll post a link above if you haven't seen my video on the ethos. But the ethos costs so much more than the R3s. So the Wired for Sound STI 1000 integrated did well too. That's discontinued. The amplifier is discontinued right now. So the Riga Elex R is another contender that will satisfy these current hungry R3 speakers. I will post another link on that amps video as well, the Elex R amps video as well. Also, amps of the likes of the Yamaha AS 2100 series would more than easily fit the bill. At a bare minimum for these speakers, I recommend the Riga Brio or the Audiolab 6000A as a good start. But the fact that I mentioned the mighty Riga Athos at nearly 5K USD, 4,800 USD, goes to show that these R3s will not be outclassed with more expensive amplification, and therefore likely to satisfy you long term. That's it, guys. That's my honest take on the Kef R3s. Stay tuned for more videos on speakers and amplification. Next up, I'm hoping to post a review soon of the Audiolab 6000A integrated. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please like, subscribe, and click that bell notification so you can be notified every time I post new content. Also, do feel free to share this video on social media platforms, as that may help my channel grow. Okay, guys, ciao for now. See you soon. Thank you.